not the dog.
Right. So, didn't want to... Hold on. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we are the hosts of the Jedi Enclave Presents the Now This is Podcasting Podcast, the podcast where we talk about Star Wars and other nerd-adjacent things that we quite like.
Like House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon this week. The Boys, which was like...
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was so much. We're going to talk about those things.
It was more than you ever wanted to think about in some ways.
Yeah. Also, these episodes are like long, so we're going to get into this pretty quick. But before we do, if you're here for the official release of the podcast on Saturdays, the time codes for each of our conversations will be in the description of this video. You can go check that out. And a thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. And give us a like and a subscribe and a share.
You know, if you feel like it.
Yeah,
maybe if you don't feel like it.
It would make our day. We probably wouldn't know, but it would make our day. Yeah. And joining us on Discord. That's a pretty neat place to hang out and talk about nerd stuff. Before we get into Star Wars, it is worth mentioning that the Agatha show had like its first like official thing.
Mm-hmm. Trailer.
Yeah, and it was like our first like big look into the show. Mm-hmm. And
did you know Aubrey Plaza was involved in the show?
Yes.
Because I didn't.
I know. Okay. This cast looks bonkers, right? Because it's like Aubrey Plaza, Patti LuPone is in it. Well, obviously, Kate. Katie Hahn is in it, who is amazing in WandaVision.
Oh yeah, she stole the show.
There are a couple people who were in the original WandaVision show. They're residents of Westview that are in the trailer, playing other parts, I guess.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty neat. Joe Locke from Heartstopper fame is in it.
Okay.
And there are some rumors about maybe he's playing Billy Kaplan, Wanda's kid. Joe Locke, famously and very obviously gay. So first of all, this show is for the gays, and I know this because when my partner and I were watching it, and they do a big hero shot of Patti LuPone, mm-hmm. and then they cut to Joe Locke doing the gay gasp. That's exactly what John and I did, because Patti LuPone is like a fucking legend, right? Yeah. And the fact they put Patti LuPone in it means that they're almost certainly going to be doing some kind of musical something or other. So.
I'm down for it.
Yeah, I think from what I saw in the trailer, Aubrey Plaza's character is probably a little antagonistic to the group.
This is gonna pull back memories, but I rewatched the trailer this evening because I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah,
like when I saw her, I pointed at the screen and said, "Mephisto!"
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's that whole joke started on New Rockstars, which is a channel like so much larger than ours, but. Mm-hmm. The Mephisto thing seemed like it made so much sense that everyone just immediately accepted it because everything kind of lined up, and it just ended up not being that at all. And like you can tell those guys over at New Rockstars are like trying not to get everyone's hopes up again about Mephisto, despite the fact that maybe they go there, maybe they don't. I don't know. So yeah, that was a thing that happened this week that we don't really have time to talk about properly. That I thought was really cool. And I feel like there's like one other. Did you see Russell Crowe's The Gladiator?
Yes.
Way back in the day.
Yes.
So they're doing a sequel to that, and it had a trailer, like the first like full length. Actually, they showed like half the movie in that fucking trailer. And I thought maybe, because I heard they were doing a Gladiator like sequel, I thought maybe they're doing the Twister thing where like it was going to like be in the universe but not connected to anything. Yeah. But after watching the trailer, it's like, oh, this is a character related to Russell Crowe's character, and the guy from Stranger Things that plays Eddie, the D&D guy, mm-hmm. Is in it, who was also, by the way, in A Quiet Place 3, which John and I saw in theaters a week ago. And I, first of all, loved that movie, mm-hmm. and was kind of shocked at how good it was. I think probably my second favorite in the franchise, and I cried a little bit. Okay. Which is like when you go to a horror movie, that's not necessarily what you're showing up for. No. Like I was like, this is a proper movie. This is like a legit movie with actual emotional moments, and it was amazing. He was in that as well. And he's so good. And Denzel Washington, randomly, I didn't even think he was still acting, but I guess he's coming back for Gladiator 2, and he seems actually kind of a badass. And
wasn't he just in, like, didn't they have a Negotiator movie a couple of years ago?
Are you talking about The Negotiator with Sam Jackson and Kevin Spacey? God rest his soul. Have you seen that movie, The Negotiator, with Samuel Jackson and Kevin Spacey?
No, I'm thinking because, like, there was some 90s action movie that Denzel Washington was in, and they made a sequel to it, like, just a couple of years ago. I forget what it was.
It was like a direct-to-TV kind of thing?
No, I think it was direct-to-streaming, which is just as bad.
Oh, yeah, that's worse, I think.
It's like the Disney's, mid-90s direct-to-video sequels.
Yeah.
Like Lion King 3.
There aren't a ton of Denzel Washington movies I've actually seen that I liked a whole bunch. But now that you're mentioning it, I think I know exactly what movie you're talking about, because isn't there a movie where he's the plot is that he's like he works in like a Home Depot or something, and like he used to be some like killer or something, but now he's left that life.
I think so.
I think I know. I don't think it's The Negotiator. I think it's like I don't know. It's not. I'll look
some.
I don't know if I care enough about it to look it up because I heard it was very terrible. Anyway, let's get into our first like item on the agenda today, which is that
Star Wars.
Yeah, last night Star Wars: The Acolyte had the 7th penultimate episode of the season. Before we get into it, I was reading some figures about this. So we know that as far as an engagement score goes, Acolyte has been doing better than every Star Wars Disney Plus show except for Obi-Wan. That doesn't translate purely over to viewers, right? Mm-hmm. This is like engagement score. I think that counts all the people who are like hate watching it, which, by the way, they don't care.
Yeah,
like they don't give a shit about that. But viewership is high. It's not Star Wars' best on Disney Plus, but it's higher than Andor. And Andor got a second season, and Andor wasn't as high on that engagement list either. So you have to imagine somewhere there's an algorithm or like a formula they have at Disney where they plug in all the numbers and it spits out do a second season.
Well, we'll get into this when we talk about spoilers, but I'd have a feeling they were planning for a second season all along.
Well, if you believe Leslie Headland, she has like 3 or 4 seasons planned. Because she was like, oh yeah, we're ready to go in like 3 or 4 seasons. Yeah. Which I believe, since the events of this show are so far removed from like the main like Star Wars thing, they could do however many seasons they wanted and not bump into anything important, right? So like that they have that going for them.
It's like Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is still going somehow.
Yeah. I know.
Like it has essentially
it's not making it money. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. It has like nothing to do with like actual Star Wars at this point, but
it makes money in there. Yeah. So I think that look, if you are one of the people who are like hate watching The Acolyte and bitching about it on social media, first of all, I admire your dedication. I don't watch anything I don't like. Yeah. So like good for you, I guess. But I will say that to Disney, if you're hate watching The Acolyte, they can still sell fucking ads on Disney Plus, and you still consume them, and they're still making money off of you. So, like, who are you really hurting here? Yeah. So, I think almost certainly they're going to have a second season. We'll probably talk about our final thoughts on the series next week after the season finale. Yeah. I think I can't see anything happening in this show that would dethrone Andor's my favorite Disney Plus series so far. I think so far I would rank it ahead of Book of Boba Fett
for sure,
and like the 3rd season of Mandalorian, both of which I was not a huge fan of, and maybe actually a little bit higher than Obi-Wan because it visually looks a lot better. But like I said, we'll have time for final thoughts when it ends. So spoiler free thoughts. This was the Rashomon episode that they're talking about, which I thought was a really cool concept. I like that like each of these episodes have a concept where like like one of them was the Predator episode, and one of them was a Kurosawa movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one's like, you know, the whole we're looking at an event told from a different perspective,
Yes.
and it plays out differently than you thought it did, or that we have reliable,
Or we just
unreliable
have
narrators.
Unreliable narrators or new revelations about things we already knew.
Yeah. I do wonder if this was the right place for it in the season.
Probably. I mean, thematically, based on what Soul said to May at the end of the previous episode, it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. I guess if you put it earlier in the season, you take some of the suspense out of the conflict between
Like,
Saul and May.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like this episode explains a lot about Soul's motivations.
Yeah. I'm still a Saul stan. I still love him, and I still think he does no wrong. But he's a little more unstable than I thought he was. There's some weird stuff that happens in this episode, but we'll talk about it. We inched closer to a more appropriate episode length. This was a whopping 40 minutes, including the previously on and the credits, which compared to last week, which was 30 minutes.
But technically like 44 and 35, but who's counting?
Yeah. Well, no, last week was 32 minutes, or the battle episode 5 was 32 minutes.
Okay.
Like, it was an embarrassingly short amount of time for a show. It's because those two were meant to be one episode, I think. Yeah. So like I appreciated that. There are some really cool, there's some really cool cinematography moments and some cool fights with a character that everyone. So like this isn't too spoilery, but everyone like there are a bunch of haters.
There's a shot in the trailers, right?
Yes.
Of Kelnaka swinging his lightsaber at Torben.
And everyone bitched, not everyone, but like the people who bitched about like when they find Kelnaka dead, they're like, oh, what a great way to waste a Wookiee Jedi. And it's like, how can you make a determination about this before you've seen only half of, or less than half of the show?
Yeah.
And like I had seen that preview at that point. So I see all these like comments, and it's like, you dumbasses, like just be patient a little bit. There are some weird Force things that are being explored that I'm really anxious to learn more about, that I was just like, hold on, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So
I just want to echo your cinematography comment and say that like they did some, I wonder how they did some of these things, because like we were talking about how this is the Rashomon episode where we see things from another perspective. I wonder if they filmed both perspectives at the same time to get the same take on them, or if they went back and did, you know, a second shooting of these things. Or
continuity's sake, it would make the most sense if they did everything at once. That way they didn't have to worry about matching up shots and everything.
It would add dramatically to the difficulty of making sure that like the two shots are both like acted well, shot well, everything. But
right.
I mean, it's Disney. They have more money than God. They could do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a filmmaker. It makes sense to me that that's how they would have done it. However, there might have been other limiting reasons why they couldn't or whatever. Okay. So we're going to get into some spoilers. So
by some, we mean all.
Yeah, we're going to spoil everything, actually. If you've not seen the show, it just came out last night. Go ahead and take a break, go and watch it. Come back and let us know what you thought in the comments. At the end of this, we'll be reading some of your comments that I asked for on social media earlier today. So there's still time to get those in. Go check us out on Facebook, or just put it in the chat of this live stream. And I think we knew this episode was coming, so it was no surprise that like the episode starts off 16 years ago. We're back on Brendock, and it's like, oh my God, we're back on Brendock. Everyone's going to freak out about the lesbian witches or whatever, which by the way, I think only 2 of them are lesbians. I think the rest of them are probably varying sexualities.
The rest of them can just live their lives however they want.
But I'm pretty sure they exist in everyone's minds as just like
the lesbian Force witches.
Yeah. They're just like all lesbians, even if they're not.
Which if they are, good for them.
Yeah. Power to the lesbians. The dark side. That was a joke. I, a gay man, would never attack the dark side of the lesbians. Both my sister-in-laws are lesbians. So I wonder if they're witches. I should ask them.
They might be Wiccans.
They could. One of them is weird. You're right. It very well could be. The other one works on a farm. I don't know what that makes. So anyway, turns out like Saul and the gang. So it's like Saul and Kalnaka and Tommen, who throughout this entire episode just having progressively a worse time.
Yeah.
And
Indara.
Indara, who really does just play Trinity, I think. That very extent, like, which works, right? Because she's playing a Jedi and she's supposed to be dispassionate and everything. Though there are some moments in this episode where I was like, "What the fuck is up with Indara?" Because
the Jedi, they are a take on Jedi.
Yeah, and so this whole thing is like a, the road to the road to hell is paved with good intentions and everything. It's kind of like that whole thing. They weren't lying. So when they show up in the previous episode and they're like, we didn't know anyone was alive here. And Anastasia is like, oh, that's bullshit. Like that they were being serious. They didn't know anyone was alive there.
They got sent out there to like take soil samples.
Yeah, they're doing like field work. Yeah.
Because apparently this planet didn't have anything alive on it 100 years ago.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in just a second because that was a really, really big story thing that's taken from the High Republic books. That we'll talk about when we get there. They are very interested in even like the most stupid forms of what we like. Saul's like, oh, it's a weed, and he like puts it in his little box and everything. 3
of them are very interested. Torben just wants to fucking go home.
I went through my entire notes without even trying to be funny, just typing his name as Tommen because Dean Charles Chapman,
that's what you know,
exists in my mind as
sweet baby Tom.
Yeah. I can still feel the same way about him a little bit. I feel really bad for him. But yeah, let's just say that he is me when I was like 14, though his character's not 14, but when I was 14 and like
you just wanted to go home and play video
my
games.
Grandparents would be like, oh, we're going to go camping all weekend. And they're camper. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. Please no. That's pretty much him. Yeah. Right. So, later that night, they like do a campfire and they like roast some marshmallows and shit and they hang out. And Tommen is still like, for the love of Christ, can we please go home? And
there's nothing out here but weeds and trees and fucking grass.
And Kalnaka is cooking.
Yeah.
Who takes personally when you don't eat food that he makes.
Yeah.
They're eating, by the way, they're eating I can't remember what he calls them, but I know that they are little animals that we've seen in the in the prequel trilogy before. Do you remember the pod race scene in episode 1? And Jabba's like sitting up in his thing, and he like flicks one of those animals off. He gets bored and just murders one of them, and like flicks them off the thing. That's what they're eating.
Okay.
So Tommen just wants to go home to Coruscant, and it turns out they've been there for 7 weeks, which I totally get. Like he's probably just over it. Who the fuck knows how long he's been wearing that one robe, right? So
it's probably pretty ripe.
Yeah, 7 weeks. They haven't found much other than just a bunch of like trees and yeah. So turns out, and Dara does a little bit of like exposition. Brendock was one of the planets affected by the Legacy Run hyperspace disaster, which is the event that kicks off the entire High Republic series, which is a big freighter carrying a bunch of people and a bunch of cargo was just going through hyperspace, minding its own fucking business. And it is attacked in hyperspace by the Nihil. And it explodes. As a result, the pieces of it drop out of hyperspace, but are still practically going the speed of light.
Yeah.
And start crashing into planets.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. And it is horrific, actually. And as a result, a lot of planets were just decimated. Like, lots of people died in this whole thing. And Brendock, we learn, is one of the planets. So 100 years ago, it was devoid of life. And within 100 years, all of a sudden, like there's green shit, and that shouldn't happen within 100 years. That's like over like maybe a couple million years, like things kind of like start growing there again, at least without like some kind of intervention or something.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. So Indara does a little Qui-Gon Jinn quote I noticed, where she tells Tommen, she's like, "Don't center on your anxieties." And I was like, I remember that part of the Phantom Menace. That one was for us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So Saul's like, let me exposit a little bit more. We are looking for a vergence, which is also a thing everyone remembers from episode 1. And he explains as a concentration of force energy surrounded around a location, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems like the Jedi are still looking for vergences in episode 1 because Qui-Gon drags Anakin in front of the council and was like, I found a vergence. It's not around a place. It's just this kid.
Yeah.
And the Jedi are like, is that how that works? Can it be a person? And Qui-Gon's like, have I literally ever been wrong at anything?
It is.
Yeah. And so it was interesting that, like, I think maybe the whole vergence thing is a thing that maybe happens kind of often that they kind of investigate. I think that the prophecy that Qui-Gon was really obsessed with had to do with a vergence. And he was like, oh, turns out it wasn't a place. It was this fucking boy. Mm-hmm. So the next day they get back to work, and Saul and Indara have this chat. And it kind of points to Saul has this tendency to project onto other people. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, so Tommen's really unbalanced and having a bad time. And he's really bored and hates all of this. And Dara's like, are you sure that you're not unbalanced and you're not bored and you're not hating all of this? And Saul's like, well, fuck you. and walks off.
Saul has a lot of empathy, I think.
Yeah, I think.
And because of that, he sort of projects his feelings onto other people.
Yeah. They're talking about Tommen, but
Tormund.
Like, Indara's like, you haven't been to Jedi teacher school. Mm-hmm. And I have.
And this is why you don't have a Padawan, by the way. My
teacher philosophy is, I want him to discover things for himself and not just have me tell them. And Saul's like, well, that's fucking stupid. And she's like, well, that's why you're not a teacher.
It's a pretty good philosophy, actually.
I think this is a little ironic since Saul literally ends up being like kind of a big deal teacher at the temple and everything, mm-hmm. and ends up having a Padawan. They need to do some exploring. Oh, by the way, this entire time, every time I see Kalnaka carrying around his metal detector, I just laugh because it's like just a regular ass metal detector from like Earth, right? You can like see the brand name on it. And
I'm sure they put some Greeblies on it, but it's just a metal detector.
Saul's going to go and check this one thing out that they haven't been to mm-hmm. yet, and he finds the Bunta tree from that earlier episode where May is like torturing a butterfly, and
I was just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, why are you always? This is why no one likes.
Why are you like this?
And we see the whole thing from Saul's perspective.
He sort of creeps up and hides behind a rock. He's like, ooh, what's that?
Which, by the way, imagine seeing this from Saul's perspective, which is that one of these girls is trying to murder a living thing, and Osha is like, no, don't do that.
Can you chill?
And so I'm sure to Saul, maybe this is why he was like, oh, so Osha's the good one, and May's the one that is the bad one, right? So he tries to call Indara up.
Even more so, imagine being him. You've been on this planet for 2 months at this point.
You're just bored.
You haven't seen any signs of intelligent life. And then you see these two Force-using children fucking around with the butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is like out of nowhere. Like it would have been a big deal if he just seemed like an animal or something. We're like, holy shit, there's like real life here. But he's like, oh no, these kids are speaking basic. And they can use the Force. So what the fuck is happening here?
Big fucking deal.
He tries to call Indara to relay exactly that. Mm-hmm. And like, there's no cell service. Of course there's not. So he's like, you know what? I better go follow them and check this shit out on my own. And this is like the part in the episode where like Coral takes him back to the compound.
Yep.
Saul can't get through the front door. So he just climbs the mountain that it's on. Which I thought was like, all right, like that's a man who sees a challenge and is like, I can take care of this.
Fine.
I'll climb the mountain.
When the door is closed, you climb a fucking mountain.
Yeah. We see a couple of things that we remember seeing from the episode, but from Saul's point of view. One of them is the training session with Anastasia, mm-hmm. where he misses the innocuous part that would put everything into context, where she's like, oh, it's the thread and all this other shit. All he sees is child abuse, more or less, right? Is Anastasia like pushing her kids over with the Force.
It's like, hey, quit fighting.
Yeah.
Now block this.
Yeah. And he's just like, what is like, we are calling space DCFS right the fuck now.
Yeah.
I do like that there's a moment where like Coral is like, I think I smell a Jedi or somebody. I smell a non-lesbian. Yeah. And she's like, she goes to like check it out, and she looks around, and Saul's already gone at that point. They also do the ritual thing. So there's like the ascension ritual, right? But then there's like the pre-ascension ritual that they have, where it's just the women.
Yeah.
And I wanted to look back in the episode and see if there's like an angle of where he was hanging out to see if you can actually see him or not. But he's like hanging out, like watching him and stuff. So Saul reports back to the Jedi. And he's like, I think they're witches. And Tommen's like fucking Night Sisters. And we learned an interesting thing about Night Sisters, which is I guess they don't have kids. Which,
okay.
I guess I'm not really sure how that works, how they can indoctrinate people.
Well, they just steal other people's kids.
Right, but they said they don't train children.
I don't know.
And as we know, every good religion must indoctrinate children or the religion dies.
Yeah.
So, like, automatically, Tommen is like, okay, I wanted to go home before, and that was before we knew witches were
now
here.
I really want.
So can we? Yeah. Indara, being, the I guess the good Jedi she is like, we should probably like check in with the council. And Saul is like, Indara, listen to me very carefully. Fuck the council. I think these two girls are in trouble.
I think they're in danger because their quote unquote mother was slapping them around with the Force.
Yeah, I saw her beat them with a belt. It was not a good thing. And Dara's like, okay, well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go.
Let's get more information. Yeah. Let's feel this out. Maybe talk to him a little bit.
They show up to the door. And so they're like, oh yeah, okay, so we can't get through the door. And so they're like, Kalmaka, fucking hotwire this. And he's like, oh, I thought you'd never asked. And he gets them in. And Dara wants to go in alone at first. And Tommen's like, you idiot. There are like probably, I don't know, I haven't seen them, but I assume 50 or more witches.
And Dara says, if we all go in, it'll be perceived as a threat.
And he's like, yeah. Yeah, because there are 50 of them. That would be okay. And she's like, okay, you know what? I don't want to waste time arguing with my own people. Yeah. Let's just go. We were supposed to be in bed like 2 hours ago. I just want to go back home. So you know what? Everyone, let's go. So they all walk in. We see the earlier scene from the earlier episode from their perspective, right? So the Jedi come in and all the witches are already like hiding the kids and everything, and everyone's staring at them when they walk in. And it's a little eerie because like the Jedi walk in, and this is a detail I guess I didn't notice the first time I saw this scene, like in the earlier episode, but like Coral has archers like right there. Yeah. As they walk through the door, like ready to put him down.
Yeah. Those archers were there. And Mother Anastasia, like before the Jedi came out, Mother Anastasia told him, hey, don't like have your bows pointed at them because they'll take that as a threat. Yeah. So just
also show a little bit of trigger discipline. Yeah. We find out that the mind fuckery with Tommen started way earlier than we thought. And she was in his mind pretty much the second they get there. Right. Yeah. And she tells him a little bit about where she's like, your parents are losers and you're from fucking Bonadan, which I think is a planet that's from like one of the really early Legends books, and like a real minor, like a Han Solo one or something, like a real minor one.
Good deep cut.
Yeah.
She's like, look, I know you just want to go home. Like, I know it, you know it. Just fucking say I want to go home. Yeah. And I can help you.
She really knows how to center in on his like all of his insecurities and shit. And she mentions his like natural desires, and she's like, boy, I knew you haven't masturbated in like 7 weeks. Like, I
mean, how could you? You're surrounded by
no privacy and everything. I took the natural desires thing. In my mind, and I don't know if it even matters or if this will end up being true or not, but it makes sense to me that maybe he has like a crush back at the temple.
Maybe.
That he's just like tired of being here and wants to be there, right? And because she mentions that like natural desires thing like a couple of times.
I mean, it could be as simple as like a more Maslowian hierarchy thing. Like you just want to be in bed at home.
Yeah.
Like you don't want
playing
to be
Xbox. Yeah. So she asks him if he wants to escape, and she's like, "Hey, look, I can help you." And so finally, Tommen's like, "You know what? Yeah, I want to go home." And
she's like, "Okay, I thought I'd never ask."
Black eyes. Yeah. And and then everything else goes.
Well, she tells him kneel, and he does both in his mind and in reality.
Right. And then the rest of that happens the way that we saw in the earlier episode. Everyone gets real tense, right?
Mother says, like, look, if you want your Padawan back, you need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So they're waiting for the girls to show up for their force test. And Tommen is really fucked up from this possession. He's like, why am I still on this planet? I don't want to be a Jedi anymore, I don't think. We see May purposely fail her test.
I feel like... Oh, never mind. Go on.
And Saul catches on pretty quick. He's like, okay, she's obviously failing the test.
She was told to fail.
Yeah.
Well, let's try something different with it.
Well, before they do that, they kind of ask, Indara asks May about her symbol in her head. Mm-hmm. And was like, why don't you tell me a little bit more about this whole weird thing that you're a part of? Yeah. And she mentions something about, she's like, oh, everyone must be sacrificed. And Saul and Indara are like, come again? Did you say everyone has to be sacrificed? And this is a line that comes up a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And I think it's significant to the story probably. So Saul is like, let me try a different approach. And he lures Osha in with the promise of friends, right? Mm-hmm. Which felt a little manipulative then, but still feels really manipulative. Mm-hmm. And Indara more or less confirms, by the way, that this entire test is a waste of time, right? Because she's too old. Mm-hmm. So like she passes the test, obviously. And Saul's like, great, we can take her. And she's like, no. Like, she's like 30 years old, Saul. Like, we can't take her with us. Like, what? And Saul's like, what are we doing then? Like, I don't understand what this is for. And then he's mentioned something about like, I'm pretty sure that she's supposed to be my Padawan, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then you can stop bitching at me about how I don't have a Padawan and shit.
And Dara's like, okay, look, I'll call the council. We'll let them make the decision.
Yeah. And she's like, I'll let you know what they say. And when she said that, I'm like, okay, maybe she asked the council. That's perfectly possible. But I think that there's at least a chance she didn't at all. And just like, Saul, they said no. Just stop asking me about this, please. So it turns out they did say no. Mm-hmm. And the Jedi Council was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You've already made more trouble than you were supposed to.
You were just supposed to look at the fucking weeds and trees.
Yes.
Stop talking to the witches. Yeah. Just do your fucking job.
Come back home, but leave Tommen there so he has to like stay on this planet for longer. And like Tommen is like, oh, for fuck's sake. So there's a plot twist. Mm-hmm. Tommen takes blood samples from both of them when they come for the test. Yep. And it turns out that they both have the exact same M count.
They have extremely high M count. They have the same like symbiotes or something,
which is what the M count measures.
Yeah,
they have exactly the same, which does not happen even in identical twins. They have different numbers. Yeah. And so this shouldn't be possible without some kind of manipulation. And Saul has a theory, which is that they've taken one consciousness and split it into two people, which already is horrifying to think about and sounds like some weird Sith bullshit anyway. Mm-hmm.
But that combined with their high M counts could explain the Vergence thing.
Yeah. It also like, it makes sense, by the way, this like two consciousness or one consciousness into two bodies thing makes sense because like they have the whole nursery rhyme about always one, born as two or whatever. So, okay, Tommen just passes this line where he just becomes irrational, right? Mm-hmm. And he's just like muttering. He's like, it's like you walk into the speeder to him, so he's fucking playing with these fucking kids, and they're like, look, where are you going?
The kids are the Vergence. We're just gonna grab them, take them back to the council.
Yeah, Tommen's like, I figured it out. They're the Vergence. I'll get the proof. We'll go home. Okay. And they're like, no.
Like, no, it's not okay. He's like, too bad. Go drive away.
I didn't ask. he gets on his bike, he fucks off. And Dara's like, oh my God, we're just supposed to be looking at flowers, guys. I don't understand what the problem is.
Go chase him.
Yeah, which by the way,
we'll get him the ship.
If I were in Dara, I'd be like, Saul, stay here. Because I don't know if you're making anything better. You're just kind of like... So she sends Saul after him, and she's like, Kalnaka and I'll get on the ship and we'll fly him. And Saul catches up to Tommen because it like gets to the door and he's like, oh shit, I can't remember how to open this. And so like they stop and they have a conversation. And meanwhile, Anastasia discusses Osha leaving with the rest of the witches, and it's not a popular idea. I thought maybe they'd be a little split about it, but like the whole group is like, no, man, like this is our future. Yeah,
they're being the writers, I mean, are being very vague about what exactly Osha and May are supposed to be and supposed to
because they're supposed to be leaders, like they're future like they're supposed to start leading.
They're supposed to be the leaders, but when Dara hears this, you're like fucking 12. How can you lead anybody? And May doesn't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Like this is one of those big mysteries that like I feel like they intend to explore in a future season, because like we do not know everything about this.
I thought maybe at first that they're like doing a thing where they're just transferring their consciousness into new bodies as they go along, but Anastasia and Coral seem to love them like children, which would be really weird, right? And so Anastasia is like, look, like this is what Osha wants. And I'm not trying to pull the mom card every fucking time, but like she's my kid.
Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, like Mother Coral.
I think you glossed over it, but Torben and Sol, when they have their conversation before they go climb up the mountain again, Sol's like, look, these kids are in danger. We need to give them the fuck out.
Well, yeah, it's because he senses what's about to happen. Is like Saul sees in like a vision or something, and knows that they're not safe, which is why he's like, oh, we have to break in. Yeah. But Coral takes May and is like, okay, I need you to get real mad and stop this from happening. Don't tell your mom.
just tap into a little bit of that dark side, and let's make this happen.
And so the whole thing happens with she locks Osha in her room, and we find out that she wasn't trying to set the door on fire. She was just trying to burn Osha's notebook.
Well, first May like busts the door lock so that you can't open the door from within. She goes, hey, ain't no you getting the fuck out. Let's beat up some Jedi.
Yeah.
And then she goes up and burns Osha's notebook.
At this point, Saul is like, uh-oh, I think something might be really happening. Yeah. And so he and Tommen decide, he's like, I found a really great way up the mountain. And Tommen's like, we're going to climb a fucking mountain. Are you kidding me?
So I was like, I already did this. It's fine. Don't worry about
it only takes 4 hours. It's fine. So May gets a little freaked out over the giant fire that she's caused.
Yes, this is the first big divergence from the earlier episode.
Which is that you think that May was...
Yeah, like the first time we saw this, we thought May was doing it on purpose. Like she was like had this urge to kill Osha or something. Yeah. This time we see that May just like lit the notebook on fire and just kind of got surprised and dropped everything.
Yeah, which I mean,
understandable.
Yeah, like a kid with a and I'm like that. That fire. They do a really good job with the VFX with this, because when she drops it. When you look at like the fire is burning, but you also see the fuel, because I think the thing that she was holding was like a
torch or
it had a bunch of fuel in it, and so it just got out of control too fast, right? And so she runs for help, right? And she's like, "Mom, I'm sorry, I burnt that house down." So Tommen and Saul meet up with Anastasia in the courtyard, and by the way, Coral is like ready to throw down. Yeah, she's like, "I've been spoiling for a fight."
There's a bunch of witches with bows and arrows.
Like everyone's ready. Like, Saul's like, look, and this will end up mattering a whole bunch when we look back at this and laugh. I'm here with noble intentions. And
it's like, did you honestly expect that to work?
Yeah.
Like, do you think they give a shit what your intentions are?
He asks how the girls are created. Anastasia finds a way not to answer. And instead it was like, so I'm going to tell you about these noble intentions. Here in about 130 years, your entire order is going to die. Good job being a Jedi. And right around then, May shows up calling for help. And then shit starts to get kind of weird. So everyone has their own like irrational response to what's happening.
Yeah.
First, Mother Anastasia decides to turn into the smoke monster from Lost.
Yes.
Just that she's like, oh, someone's in danger. And Saul is like, that's a smoke monster. I think I'll hit it with my lightsaber.
I'm going to stab it. Yes.
Tommen and Coral are staring at each other, and they're like, you know what? Here comes a girl. I guess we'll just fucking fight each other, right? And like the archers start firing and shit. And Tommen's got some pretty fucking good moves, by the way. Saul just straight up like impales Anastasia, and as she's dying, she's like, you motherfucker.
You fucking dumbass.
I was going to let her go. Like, she chose you. I just want you to know that, just as a little guilt trip, as I'm dying, she chose you. So good job. Good guy, Jedi.
Where are your noble intentions now?
Yeah. So Coral threatens to, she's like, oh, you shouldn't have brought him here because he's so easily mind controlled. And Tommen's like, excuse me, I have fortified my mind.
I think you've skipped something because Coral like goes berserk and starts attacking Soul.
Yeah.
And Soul like at first just does the dodging thing.
He doesn't. I think he's like, I think I might have accidentally killed someone in cold blood.
He feels bad about it.
Yeah.
He's trying to not make things worse.
To be fair, if I was standing there and someone just turned into a smoke monster and I had a lightsaber, I would probably swing at it just in case.
Maybe.
Just in case. Like, that had to have been terrifying. But yeah, there's a nice little fight between them. And
and she screams at him, fucking fight back. And he like takes an opportunity to like cut the blade off her stab. And I think that's when they start saying, hey, you shouldn't have brought him.
Yeah. And Tommen, who is like, oh, that shit's not going to work on me again.
I was meditating for like 5 seconds early in the episode. I'm totally.
It took me 5 hours, but like, I'm ready for this. And she's like, oh, you sweet summer child. I was not talking about you. And there's this terrifying shot of Kelnaka standing on the stairs in the dark. And then like he like comes into the light and you're like, uh-oh, he's got black eyes. Oh no.
Yeah.
And so thus ensues the Kelnaka versus Saul and Tommen fight sequence. And it turns out that a Wookiee, first of all, just on their own are terrifying.
Yes.
But with a lightsaber and the Force is like send him on every fight the Jedi go on.
They do a fantastic job with this scene. They do a great job selling how much raw power.
Yeah, he just knocks Tommen right the fuck over.
He's just knocking him over, swinging back and forth.
Yeah. He fucks Tommen's face up, by the way. And I think he grabs Saul by like the throat, or was it Tommen?
He grabs Tommen by the neck, like pins him against the wall. Is about to swing. Tommen is like
gets his lightsaber on and shit. Yeah, and like
Saul's like, dude, chill the fuck out. We're friends.
So Indara shows up and breaks. Okay, so she does this thing where she's like, okay, I'm going to mind meld with the Wookiee.
Yes.
And then I guess senses all the witches that are like...
Because there are some shots of the witches like all holding hands and swinging.
Kumbaya and shit. Yeah. And I guess Indara just kills all of them through the Force.
That is what I took from it.
This feels like a dark side power that she didn't learn from the Jedi. Maybe she is dead. Maybe May killed her at the beginning of the show and she never ends up coming back. Fine. That's fine. I would not necessarily be surprised after what I saw in this episode if Indara didn't end up being some sinister player that we find later on that maybe perhaps isn't dead or had some kind of involvement somewhere in something. Because she kills every one of those witches with the Force, just with her fucking brain, which is like, how do you do that? So also that's where Coral's like, oh, I guess I'll turn into a smoke monster too. And she just fucks off. And so now we know why her body isn't with all the other witches. Excuse me. My allergies have been crazy all day today.
'Tis the season.
Yeah. So we see the scene where so
Osha got out through the tunnel and she's running around.
Yeah.
And she
they do the catwalk thing.
And like, Osha, May, what did you do? What did you do?
Yeah. What we didn't see is the fact that Saul has to make a choice.
Yeah, so those catwalks are collapsing, and Saul like reaches out with the Force to try to stop them, but he realizes
can't hold them both.
He can only hold one of them up.
Yep. And so he just lets May fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which is
He's
as...
Like, oh, okay, look. One of you was torturing a butterfly. The other was telling the other to stop torturing the butterfly.
Yeah.
I think the second one will make a better Jedi.
Yeah. Let the other one die.
Yeah.
But will the universe care? Probably not. Hopefully this decision won't come back to bite me in the ass later. So yeah, he lets May fall to presumably her death and rescues Osha, and they deal with the fallout of this complete disaster on the ship on the way home, right? And Dara basically orders them to lie to the council.
Like, okay, we're going to tell them the truth. And the truth is that May lit a fire and it killed her entire family, but we were able to rescue Osha.
Yeah. And then leave all the other very important details out of our report.
Yep.
And Saul at first doesn't want to. And they get kind of physical with one another. Where like, and Dara looks like she's like, I finally had, I'm going to whoop your ass. And she's like, would you stop and think for a second that you went through all this fucking trouble. All these people are dead. We've got this girl here. Mm-hmm. You are all she has. And you're just going to go and turn yourself into the Jedi Council. Like, what the fuck happens to her? Which also is one of those things where I was like, damn, dude. Like, that's manipulative as fuck.
This show is doing a very good job of showing the Jedi as the sort of flawed human beings that they are.
Or, beings, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, Soul has a huge heart, which is one of his biggest strengths and also one of his biggest weaknesses, because it drives him to...
He's very passionate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Passionate. He cares a lot about people, which are two things that are good in most circumstances, but in a Jedi lead to some issues.
I think it might lead to some... I mean, these are all qualities that can be used against him by someone like Kamir as well.
Very much so.
And I've wondered since episode 5 if Saul isn't the one that ends up being the Acolyte.
Possibly.
Because that would hurt quite a bit. That they've made us fall in love with Saul so much because his actor is so warm and caring. Mm-hmm. And he really, like, he does have good intentions. Like, he's not trying to be a bad guy. He's actively trying to do the right thing. It just, like, he's trying to control a situation because he has the arrogance to think that because he's a Jedi, he can control the outcome. Yeah. And he obviously can't. Like, no one can, right? But because he's a Jedi, they all think they can. And, like, he's a good guy, and I think that would hurt quite a bit if they got us to fall in love with him and like him a whole bunch, and he doesn't end up being a Sith at some point, like maybe before Plagueis or something. Or maybe they change Plagueis's fucking species and Saul is just Plagueis.
Maybe. And to a lesser extent, the other major flaw that this is showing us in the Jedi is how susceptible they are to sort of political maneuvering.
That's all they think about.
Yeah,
that's all they think about is like, what is the political ramification? Even like Vernestra, fucking
Vernestra
16 years later
is the perfect poster child for this. But we see Indara here is like saying like, look, we'll just cover this up. No one will ask questions. Yeah. It'll be fine.
We're Jedi. There will be no consequences either, which also is like, how can you be so fucking cold? There are so many dead people back on that planet and you killed most of them, which is like, if I were Saul, I would have been like, I only killed one of them. You killed 12.
It was like 30.
So are you worried about Osha? Or are you worried about you? Because, the second I go in there, I'm going to be like, I think Indara thought bombed everyone.
She did what?
Yeah. Yoda's like, not again. So next week is the season finale. Mm-hmm. If I didn't already know that they were at least trying to make other seasons happen, I'd be worried that they're not going to wrap this up in time. But
they cannot possibly wrap up all the plot lines and answer all the questions unless it's like an hour and a half long episode.
I think it's going to be another 40-minute one. Though knowing that they kind of designed this to be a multi-season story, it's like, okay, so they'll leave us on a cliffhanger. And
I think this is where we are going to end up with our titular Acolyte.
I think you can say tits.
Titular.
Yeah, that makes more sense. They're like, why would I end up with tits after this?
Whether that ends up being Soul or Osha or someone else, who knows?
I know Leslie Headland said in an interview that we do see 2 Sith in this season. So I think we're going to meet someone else. Mm-hmm. And it depends on how much they want to go with James Luceno's Plagueis book, right? Mm-hmm. Which is pretty much the only book that really explores the Sith right before episode 1. So they can take from that and they could do the Darth Tenebrous thing, which I would love because just the idea.
Who doesn't love a Biff Sith?
Yeah. It just like, well, first of all, it's a nice wordplay.
Yeah.
But also like.
Second of all, they're the guys who play the goofy jizz music.
Yeah. And it's like having one of those motherfuckers be a Sith Lord. That's like Darth Jar Jar level. Like, that's pretty neat. So they could keep that or just do away with it and just invent some other entirely new character, which would be fine, honestly, because there's one book that has Darth Tenebrous in it. He doesn't last very long. Fucking Plagueis kills him, right? On their Cortosis planet. And I think Plagueis is the character they can't get rid of because he's mentioned in the movie.
He is bedrock canon.
Yeah. And we don't know anything about him officially other than he was probably, he's probably Palpatine's master and he probably killed him. So we like it. I know in Legends, he's not human, but he very well could be. And I'm not sure if it would even really detract from his character if he ended up being human or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I would like to see them do more aliens for stuff, but that shit's expensive, I guess. Chris says, may the force be with you, Daniel and Chris. I hope you are both having a good night.
Yeah, it's all right.
It is. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. I'm going to pull up some of your comments.
Your thoughts, your theories, your complaints. Hopefully not too many of those.
No, that's the thing. We talked about this last week. Did you see this picture of Sunfire with the...
Oh, I'm sad now.
We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Yeah, I know. I was really depressed after that episode. So this is a really good example of this 147 interactions on this post, right? Which for us is like really good. Yeah. A vast majority, 99% of them being positive. This show isn't hated by 83% of the population.
No,
that's false. That is not true. That is not the case. I understand that there are probably a lot of people that don't like it, but it is absolutely not a vast majority of humankind.
Yeah.
I do not accept that. Jacob says, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Anakin Skywalker voice with a shrug emoji.
Yeah.
All this episode did was just show what I already knew since 2005 onwards. So the Jedi were evildoers in the whole story. It sounds like a Sith sympathizer to me.
Disagree.
I think the Jedi as an organization, which by the way, they talk about this in the episode where Anastasia is like, why would I want my kid raised by an institution and not a family? I think the Jedi as an institution is deeply flawed and is immoral. But I think that they're
individual Jedi.
I think a lot of them are just like Saul and they want to do good.
They have the best of intentions, probably more power than any individual person should have.
Right. And then you get, every once in a while, you get the random Qui-Gon Jinn who is like, if all the Jedi were like this, it would probably work out a lot better. Because that Qui-Gon Jinn wouldn't be like, only I can fix this, right? He'd be like,
let's get some help.
Yeah. Oh, let's play a quick game, by the way. Let's play, what would Jedi we know do in a situation, like if they were in this situation instead of Saul and Tom?
Okay.
Anakin. Everyone would be dead.
Yes.
Right?
Every single one of the witches would be cut in half.
Yeah. And like Obi-Wan would have been too distracted by something else to notice it.
Hello there.
And like they'd pull Anakin.
Now, Obi-Wan would come out of the elevator and say, hello there. And probably flirt with a witch or something. I don't know.
Yeah. He would show up to the council. Mace Windu would be like, why are all the witches dead? And he was like, well, they attacked me. Okay. See you on the next one. Right. Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't think that there is a chance in hell that Qui-Gon Jinn jumps to conclusions about. I think I see him being very interested by the whole virgins thing, but I cannot see Qui-Gon Jinn being like, I am going to take these children from their parents, especially since they're too old to be trained as Jedi anyway, and they're not like offering them up or whatever.
That didn't exactly stop Qui-Gon when it came to Anakin, the too old thing.
He explained the situation to Shmi, and it was like, your son is extraordinarily special, and I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a Jedi. And Shmi was like, yeah, I kind of figured. right?
Mhm.
I feel like he got at least a soft consent from Shmi before he took Anakin, right? And to be fair, he did try to free both of them.
Yeah.
But Watto was an asshole.
Yeah. I think Qui-Gon asks more questions and tries to learn from the witches about exactly what May and Osha are.
I see Qui-Gon not being threatened by the witches at all.
Yeah.
I think because that they went in there like, oh, witches, everyone watch out. I think Qui-Gon's like, yeah, weird shit happens in the galaxy all the time. What the fuck ever. You guys got any like good opium tea or like... I think Yoda would probably have a similar interaction because we've seen Yoda in the comics discover...
I think Yoda behaves exactly the way Indara did.
Really?
Not like up until when Torben breaks down. I think Yoda's like, no, we're not doing that. Let's just get back on the ship. We're not dealing with this.
Yeah, I think he...
I don't think he like thought murders all the witches.
Yeah.
But I think he never lets it come to that point.
I can't imagine Yoda would do that. I hope not. I think that like we've seen Yoda deal with weird groups of people that he doesn't understand in the comics. Mm-hmm. And his general go-to thing is let's hang out and smoke a pipe and talk about it. Like he literally does that in a comic, right? So I don't know. I see him also probably trying to maybe gather more information before he just jumps. I guess that being like Yoda, he'd have the wisdom to know that maybe all the pieces aren't there for me to see directly. Mace Windu.
Everyone is dead.
Everyone dies. Yeah. Steve Wilder says,
Kiadi Mundi. Everyone is pregnant.
Everyone's pregnant, yeah. Everyone's no longer a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
Magically. We don't know how it happened. Steve says, I like that there's some sense to how each of the Jedi progressed after the events on Brendok. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Everyone's got their own way of dealing with it.
It just made sense to me that Torben fucking goes into the meditation for years and years because he doesn't want to get his mind poked.
Well, I think... I don't think
Kalnaka goes and lives in the woods so that he can't be a threat to anybody.
Yeah, and be away from everyone. So like we know for a fact that Torben took the Barish vow, which is it's an act of penance, and I don't think they have to say to everyone why. I think they just like go off and think about what they did.
Yeah,
and that's what he's doing. Is that he's in that vow. I think a lot of the time they're like usually vows of silence or solitude or something. I don't think we'll be getting everything answered in one final episode. Season 2! Exclamation point.
Yep.
I want a new. Gregor says I want a new TV show or movie that has a picture of Indara and Torben. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. I would really love for Carrie Ann Moss to come back. I think she's criminally underused in this show, and she's an actor with good range.
Yeah, she's really good.
I would like to see her like do something like kind of cool. Casey says there should have been only one flashback episode in the show at the at the same point, but like 12 minutes longer because it would have contained both sides. We talked about this a little bit about how
I don't think that works narratively.
It pours water on the conflict a little bit between.
It gives us too much information about Soul and the other Jedi's motivations. Yeah,
like because you're wondering like one of my first thoughts was like, why the fuck is Tommen doing the Barish vow?
No.
Like, what the fuck did that guy do? He has such a likable face. Well, I mean, he had such a likable face. Now he's fucked up.
The side of it that wasn't clawed up. Yeah.
WG Nix says, did anyone else get a feeling that May and Osha are the same person but split into two?
Very possible.
I think Saul got the feeling, and he said so directly in the show. That they will join one as the conclusion, the rhyme they sing, and just how opposite they seem to me. That's my speculation, and I'm not sticking to it. Way to hedge your bets. How could you possibly be wrong? Michael Hooker. This is like, by the way, do you know why we call hookers hookers?
Why?
In the Civil War?
Oh yeah, hookers girls.
Yeah, there was a general called Hooker who just had a bunch of fucking...
He just recruited a bunch of prostitutes.
So they call them hookers.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's related to General Hooker.
Possibly.
Michael, let us know in the comments if you ever hear this. Michael says, did not like that episode. Could have been done in a 15-minute flashback narration. Hopefully next week we'll reveal. I am vehemently against narrations in any kind of visual media. Mm-hmm. I think it's a terrible way to exposit information. Gil.
Okay.
Gui, perhaps, if it's French. Haha. I never thought that some product of Star Wars finished with a modern... we have to talk about that.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So the end credits has like a pop song, right? I like the song.
Mm-hmm. It's fine.
It's a fine song.
It's a little out of place.
I don't know why they put it there. And look, when people take swings in Star Wars, I appreciate it, right? Because
they're trying something new,
and that can
work really well, like the entirety of Andor,
right?
Or it can be a bit of a swing and a miss sometimes,
like this. And this was a big whiff, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit with the overall vibe of the show and really of Star Wars.
Yeah. It just makes me wonder, do they have a Yamaha electric piano in the Star Wars universe? Because that's what it sounded like, But like I said, it was the song was fine, and I would listen to it on its own. But you just had 40 minutes of John Williams-y sounding Star Wars music. Like this, maybe this is something you release in some kind of supplemental thing or something. I wasn't a big fan of it. Mark says, yeah, it was just the third episode with about 3 minutes of new footage. That's what a Rashomon kind of thing is, though. It's the same events from a different perspective.
And we see new truths, and we see that some narrators are unreliable. Yeah.
Yoda BBY ABY says, that fight between possessed Kalnaka and Torben/Saul was epic. Oh my God, I could watch that over and over. And the black smoke force witches.
Yeah.
Sad about Mother Anastasia.
Yeah.
Saul kind of overreacted on that, I think.
Just a little bit.
This High Republic Jedi Order is doing some wild stuff. Not surprised they didn't see Palpatine coming in 120 years.
Yeah.
Jose says, I also liked how it addressed Qui-Gon Jinn line about sensing a Force virgins around Anakin. They did a lot of like fan service episode one, I think. And I'll pick one more at random. Kenor. Senior? It's probably Senior, actually.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. What do they say?
Koganada. More like Kogadnada, I would say. The guy that directed it. Mm. I thought it was competently directed.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. All right. Next thing. Got to talk about...
It's time to get very sad.
Oh, yeah, I know. I hate when shit like this happens, too.
Before we get too far into House of the Dragon, because that's what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
The actor who plays Kristen Cole is actually getting harassed on social media.
I know. I saw that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And first of all, it makes me upset, but it also doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me because nerds are extraordinarily bad at separating the actor from the character they play.
That doesn't actually exist in real life. Yeah.
This was a huge deal with fucking Rose Tico a couple of years ago. It's been a huge issue with a bunch of other actors, and now it's in House of the Dragon.
Yeah. And the thing is, the Rose Tico thing was different because a lot of that was about her race and everything, which isn't good.
Which is disgusting.
It's disgusting. But it's a weird, different thing. That their problem with the actor is that they think he's literally Kristen Cole.
Yeah.
And it's guys, if you ever see Kristen Cole in real life, go kick him in the balls.
Yeah, he's a jackass.
He's by the way, is the only incel I've ever heard of that's actually having sex with someone. I don't know how Cole pulls that off, but he is, right? Because his main driving force is fuck Rhaenyra for not wanting to go off and sell oranges with me. Yeah. And it affects the rest of his life, right? A woman spurned him and he's,
It's his entire motivation for the rest of his life.
If you see his actor,
say, hey,
thank you for such a blindingly good performance that it made me hate that character, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant actor and he sells the part so well. It's just like the guy who plays Otto Hightower.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
he's a huge asshole,
Otto Hightower.
But he's such a good actor.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I could go on a rant about
this. The show
this.
is just full of really good actors.
I don't know. My faith in the human race has all but evaporated.
Yeah.
It's we've had a good run. It's time for the humans to end. Okay. House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold. Fucking epic episode title.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get into spoilers immediately.
Yeah.
Like too much shit to talk about. We're gonna spoil it. If you've not seen it yet, please go watch it. Come back, let us know what you think in the comments.
So you can be sad with us.
Yeah, it is really depressing. We'll save some of the depressing stuff toward the end because there's other weird shit happening too.
Because that's where the depressing shit happens.
Yeah. So like, okay, so first of all, Damon is still at Harrenhal tripping balls.
Yeah.
And like, I like how there's just this entire war raging, and Damon's just like taking a walk around Harrenhal in the middle of the night, like having bad dreams, like trying to figure out how to help the war, but he's still like entirely useless. Like, what the fuck is Caraxes doing, by the way? You think he's like also kind of tripping balls and just like flying around like, what the fuck?
Maybe.
So that like the whole thing opens with this neat scene with Millie Alcock's Rhaenyra.
Young Rhaenyra,
yeah. And
like Damon is walking around the Red Keeping, comes into the throne room, and
it is a shot for shot parallel to when Rhaenyra meets Damon for the first time, except for Damon is sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
She's the one walking in, and he's the one that comes down and talks and everything. And he just cuts her fucking head off.
Yep.
So like, you can't understand her at first.
She's,
Someone turned the treble down on her voice, and like, you can't understand what she's saying.
And for a fact, she's also speaking High Valyrian this whole time.
Right. And so he's like, you know what? Fuck this. He just cuts her head off. Because she's like insulting him and shit. Yeah. It cracks me up that like after her head plops on the floor, she's just still talking. Yeah. She's like, that won't get me down. I'm a Targaryen. I have the blood of the dragon. So Simon Strong wakes him up, and he's like, you have another voicemail from your wife. She says to come home. And he's like, no.
Why do you think I came out here?
Yeah. It is weird to me that Damon keeps seeing visions of Rhaenyra, but he only sees her as that younger version.
Which says some things about his mental state, I think.
That's probably the version he likes the most because she was more malleable. Yeah. And he could kind of like boss her around a little bit more. Damon
might be on the side that we support, but he is not a good guy.
Yeah, he's not a great guy.
He's not a good human being.
Yeah. So the voicemail more or less is about how like Bela saw an army leaving King's Landing and shit. And like Damon can't be bothered by it. He's like, I don't fucking care. Why am I being haunted?
Yeah.
He's like, everyone's haunted here. It's Harrenhal.
Yeah. It's just how it works.
They're walking around and they just walk past a fucking random black goat, which in like
it's just hanging out
in our culture is like the devil. I don't know what it means in Westeros. It could just be one of the random goats that just like walked in because they're like
because there's no walls.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like you might as well be outside.
Yeah.
We meet Oscar Tully, who is the grandson of Grover Tully and is the son of Kermit Tully. And if you're thinking Oscar, Grover, and Kermit, yes, George R. R. Martin had a little joke in Blood and Fire. And I think there's another guy in the book that's one of the other ones. Elmo. Oh, okay. No, there's an Elmo Tully in there. Yeah. Which, by the way, this is a family that Catelyn Stark is from in the original series, and also Brendan Tully, the Blackfish, who is a fucking badass. They always have the fish. And I like how he's got the fish scale like armor and shit. Like, it's pretty cool. So it turns out old man Tully is shitting his pants and isn't talking to anyone. And
Damon's like, look, are you going to fight for me or not?
Yeah. Well, actually, he's like, I have this smashing idea. Why don't you take a pillow and kill your grandfather?
Which is such a Damon thing to say.
Put it over his face. Wait till he stops breathing.
Press down a little bit.
Yeah. And then problem solved. Wouldn't you say?
You're the new lord. You can come fight for me.
And Oscar's like,
but I love my grandfather. Damon's like, then you're completely fucking useless.
Yeah. Get out. Yeah. Get out.
Get out of my cabin.
Take that fucking goat with you. I don't want to see that in here again. So
I think he actually makes some sort of fish joke. Like he calls him,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rhaenys visits Corlys and Driftmark, and she meets Alan, who I think they've more or less like soft confirmed that he's one of Corliss's bastards.
Yeah, that's what I took from it.
Okay. This is a masterclass. Not saying that anyone needs to learn this lesson. Looking at you, Catelyn Stark, where how to be gracious to your husband's bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jon Snow, Ned Stark's bastard, Catelyn treats like a piece of shit the entire time she's alive, pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, it's not Jon Snow's fault, but for some reason, she thinks it is. Rhaenys is entirely opposite of this, right? She seems like she might be a little disappointed at Corlys about it, but she was like, he saved your life. Like, this guy, you should be honoring him.
Also, he's kind of hot.
Yeah, he looks like a young you. Like, goddamn.
Like, the exact words she uses are, I did not know you were so comely. You must have had a beautiful mother. Yeah. And like, she touches his face and shit.
The implication being, I know who your dad is, by the way. He's my daddy, just in a different way.
No. She is the top in that relationship.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But she's, she's like, you shouldn't be hiding him fucking, below the tides or whatever. Like, put that boy to work somewhere visible. Like, give him a proper thank you.
Make him your heir, maybe?
Yeah. So they get a letter, I think, right? It's like Bela, who's like, mom or grandma and grandpa, Rhaenyra's not here, and the Black Council's going insane, and I don't know how to deal with it. Neither does Jace. Can you come here and please? We need an adult. Yeah. And so they're like, oh fuck, I guess we're going to Dragonstone.
Gotta sort out the kids' mess again.
Orwyle, the Grand Maester, brings Alicent some morning after tea. Mm-hmm. And I like how she's like, it's not for me, it's for a friend. And he's like, bitch, I know it's for you. Don't fuck with me.
I will make sure the lady gets it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, okay.
He's like, you're the lady.
Yeah.
Also, this might make you shit your guts out. So just saying, if you need a Pepto-Bismol, let me know. The fucking nerve of this woman. Just the fucking nerve to be so pissy at Rhaenyra and finding out about the moon tea and her pearl clutching, just the fucking gall of this woman. So, Bela is giving a report to the Black Council. And like the one belligerent dude is like, well, you should have fucking burned Cole and his army. And she has this really good clapback where she's like, well, the next time you're out there with your fucking dragon, you can. And he's like, oh yeah, I don't have a dragon.
That's right.
Yeah. So Rhaenys and Corlys show up and they're like, okay, mom and dad have arrived.
Everyone chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Now, where are we on the war?
Yeah. And like one of them's like, oh, the council is rudderless. And she's like, well, I've come with a rudder. So everyone calm the fuck down. By the way, Rhaenyra is still missing. No one knows where she is. At Duskendale, Cole has earned another victory in his little campaign that he's running not to impress Alicent, to spurn Rhaenyra, right? And he demands everyone swears for Aegon.
Fucking bend the knee.
Yeah, of course, Lord Darklyn is like, fuck you. Yeah, and fuck your white cloak, by the way, that you shouldn't be wearing because you're a piece of shit. And he took that personally. Took that very personally, and he cut his head right off.
Yep.
And then
in fairness, he was planning to cut his head off anyway.
Probably, yeah. But like, he's like, oh, I'm definitely cutting it off now. We find out that like, okay, so
as he's walking away, someone comes up and says, hey, we got a letter for you. And he like reads it. And there's a nice shot of him like walking down the pier, reading this while everyone in the foreground is like bending the knee to him.
Yeah. What's the letter about again? Or is it maybe from Aemond?
I think so.
I miss you. Come back home.
Maybe
it's Alicent.
I hate you. Don't come home unless you want to fuck.
Yeah. Like all I have here is Laris and all he does is jerk off to my feet. I don't know how to deal with this. Aegon is freaking out in King's Landing because Damon took Harrenhal. And Laris is like, okay, I'm from Harrenhal.
And I don't even care.
That place sucks. Which, by the way, there's no gold there. I took it all. Yeah. Like, it's all here.
There's no money. Yeah. Like, if he wants to repair it, it's going to take 1 billion years.
Yeah. It's just going to distract
all
him.
their money.
Yeah. Like, it's like, just let him. Yeah, and I can tell you from experience, he's tripping balls right now. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Aegon figures out that Aemond and Cole have been plotting the whole war behind his back. And
because Aegon's an idiot and Aemond isn't.
Yeah, he is an idiot. The thing I appreciate about Aegon is that he's not like Joffrey, who was a psychopath who found literal sexual gratification in hurting other people, right? He's just psychotic.
Aegon, I think, just wants to be loved and respected more than anything.
Yeah. Because he doesn't get that from his parents like he should have, right? It doesn't make his actions good, but it's I think he's a more sympathetic character. It doesn't excuse them,
but it explains him.
Yeah. So Aemond talks to him in Valerian. He's pretty much like, you're a fucking idiot, by the way. And why is your Xbox squad on the fucking Kingsguard now?
Yeah. What the fuck's up with that?
Yeah.
And Aegon tries to answer.
He does. He does. Icon has hamburger in in High Valyrian, and Aemond doesn't say anything. He just like
smirks.
Okay, yeah.
And everyone else is like,
no one else speaks High Valyrian.
What the fuck are they saying?
So he says the one guy's name, I think, on the Kingsguard, and he's like, what is he saying?
Yeah,
this is bad for me.
Are they talking about me?
Also, those guys I think are just perpetually drunk.
Yeah.
So like, someone runs in there trying to kill Aegon, like they're just as likely to fall over and die, you know. So Alicent and Larys hang out, which is usually the start of something very bad.
Yeah.
So
there's a nice touch here where like Alicent is like clutching a warm rock to her abdomen.
She's shitting her guts out. Yeah. Just like Orwell said she would. Larys knows he knows about the morning after tea.
He knows everything.
He knows about Cole and everything.
Just assume if it happened in King's Landing, Larys knows about it.
He was probably sitting there behind a wall, like, you know,
jerking off, watching.
This is why we get demonetized in our hostage videos. Alicent suddenly is obsessed with Viserys's histories, and I'm pretty sure it's because she's trying to find Aegon's dream.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the fuck was Rhaenyra talking about? And she has resigned to the situation. And she doesn't seem to care that she's wrong. The fucking audacity of this woman, let me tell you. She knows that this entire reign is built on a lie that she helped. Yeah. Like, I don't know how she continues.
She might not be on the right side, but she is on a side. And I think, at least in her mind, it's easier to just continue
status quo.
Rather than,
because they're the ones in King's Landing.
Yeah.
So
they are de facto the ones in charge.
Daemon takes another nighttime stroll through Harrenhal. He's following somebody. And from the back it looks like Aemond because he's got the
same hair.
Yeah, and the eye patch strap.
Yep.
He turns around and it's just Daemon in an eye patch. I saw this really funny meme that was like, so what happened here is that Daemon didn't remember what Aemond looked like. So in his dream he just substituted his own face.
I mean, they are kind of similar characters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he wakes up and he's hanging out with Alice Rivers, who is a new character from the book. She's like a wood witch. She took the Maester's job. She's like, yeah, the Maester just fucked off like in the middle of the night.
So now I'm in charge.
Yeah. She's the bastard daughter of Lionel Strong, which makes her Larys's half sister.
Okay.
And now it totally tracks why she's so fucking creepy.
Wasn't she in the previous episode? Like
she's the one that told Daemon. She's like, you're going to fucking die here. And he's going to be like,
the fuck? Citation
needed. Also, the showrunners mentioned something about her being alive for like 400 years.
Huh. Okay.
So they talk about shit. And she's like, yeah, I'm a fucking witch. Like, big deal. And she mixes him a drink and she hands it to him. And he's just like, I guess
thanks?
What? It's like he looks at it, and then the next shot is him drinking it in an entirely different setting the next day.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? First of all, what is in that fucking cup? I would like some more because that was quite a trip.
Yeah. Second off, who are you?
Yeah. Turns out, by the way, he's talking to Willem Blackwood, who is that little boy in season 1 that just like murked that Bracken guy, right? And so he is like, look, I'm the head of House Blackwell until my nephew Benjicott comes of age, and then he'll take over.
Yeah.
And Benjicott Blackwood is who everyone thought was the kid at the beginning of the previous episode at the Burning Mill. that like the little psycho kid, like, or not little, but like the psycho, I guess, young adult, or whatever.
The one who's pissed off about the rock.
Yes. It's worth pointing out, neither of us have read the book, but from what the brief non-spoiler things I've heard about Ben Chakotay Blackwood is that I'm going to love him. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that. And Damon sees the ghost of his late wife, Lena. Mm-hmm. And then like, he's like staring, like it's like some servant girl, and all of a sudden it's Lena, and she's like pouring wine, and then like it's not Lena anymore, and it's just the servant who's like, the fuck is his problem? I don't like this. Yeah. For some reason, Aegon keeps sitting in on these meetings. Yeah. And he's like, you guys are so fucking boring. I can't even. Yeah. I'm going home. I'm going home early. He goes to his room, and Alicent is like rifling through his shit. Yeah. And she's like, where are Viserys' books? And he's like, I got rid of them. Yeah. And she's like, of course you did. You fucking idiot.
He's like, I didn't burn them. Yeah. I just threw them out.
She's like, you didn't think to read a single fucking one of them? You stupid piece of shit.
Of course not. I don't know how to read. Yeah. I can barely speak sometimes.
She spends pretty much the whole time shitting on Aegon.
Yeah. She's like, I don't love you. I never loved you.
Neither did your father.
Let's see. The council doesn't respect you because you're a fucking idiot. Do you have any idea how much trouble we went through to put you on that throne? Like, just fucking sit there, look pretty, and enjoy it.
Yeah. He heartbreakingly says, what would you have me do? Asking the question of, how can I get you to love me? Like, how can I do the right thing? And her fucking cold response is, do nothing. Do absolutely fucking nothing.
Just sit there. Let us fight the war for you. We'll have you, that crown secured on your head. Yeah. You don't have to do anything. You fucking idiot.
The audacity of this woman. So Kristen's preparing an attack on Rook's Rest. Mm-hmm. And he orders Gwaine, I guess his name is, I think, Alicent's brother. He's like, so I know the original battle plan was to attack at night where we couldn't be roasted by dragons. We're going to actually instead attack during the day where we can be roasted by dragons.
Queen is like, that's fucking stupid. He's like, why?
Well, for fuck's sake.
Question: what if we don't want to be roasted by dragons?
It's like, do you want to die? Like, I don't understand. Which was interesting because he did want to die in the first season. He was going to kill him, or he's going to go to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, or unalive himself.
And Alicent was like, "Hold on a second.
Yeah, you belong to me now." Mm-hmm. So he's just like, you know what? I'm not arguing with my sister's fucking side piece. I'm just not doing it. Rhaenyra comes home. She's still in her nun's garb. Yep. But Jace meets her at the door with his arms crossed. He's like, where were you, young lady? And she was like, I was hanging out with Bela. And Bela's like, no, you weren't. I was here the whole time.
It's like, fine. Yeah. I went to King's Landing and hung out with Alicent.
Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I went to King's Landing and talked to Alicent. And there's
you did what?
There's like a pregnant pause. And then Jace is like, why?
Why?
There's one place in the world that is the most dangerous for you, specifically you, and that's where you went. And she's like, "Yeah, we dressed up like the Catholics.
It was fine.
It was fun." So Jace is just like, "Oh my god," and their dynamic, by the way, is so much different because Jace and Rhaenyra love each other very much, and Rhaenyra is a good mom. Mm-hmm. Unlike Alicent, fucking Alicent, the gall of this woman. So Jace is like ready for some action. He's like ready to get the thing started.
Like they're attacking Rook's Rest. Fucking send me out there on my dragon. I'll burn them all. Yeah, it'd be great.
Rhaenyra's like, no, I'll go.
And everyone's like, why?
Nope, only one that time. So the Black Council is like, okay, there's only one place you can go after King's Landing where you specifically are the most in danger, and it's into a fucking battle with a dragon. Yeah. So can we not do that? And then Rhaenys is like, I have a better idea. I'll fucking go. I have the biggest dragon, aside from Vhagar.
Who is stuck in King's Landing defending that because, otherwise we could send in dragons to burn it to the ground.
Yeah. So I'll just go and take care of it, and everything will be great. And, if you've been paying attention, they've been getting us to love Rhaenys and Corliss, a whole bunch. They've had a couple of really tender moments together. You know that the second she volunteers for this, what's going to happen? And you're just like, son of a bitch. So
even more so in the next scene where she's like cuddling with Maelys and it's like going into battle.
Off to battle one more time.
Yep.
And it's just like, guys, don't do this.
3 days before retirement.
Kill Rhaenys. I won't be happy about it. I love her, but don't fucking kill the dragon. So Allison, Rhaenyra is like, hey, by the way, I learned some interesting news in King's Landing. My claim is and always has been righteous, and Alicent actively knows that hers isn't and refuses to yield. So let's go to fucking war. Also, please don't mistake my caution for weakness, because like now that I am personally satisfied that every avenue to peace is blocked.
Let's pull out the fucking dragons.
Balls deep. Let's fucking go on the one guy that keeps like, we have to do dragons. He's like, yes, finally. Yeah. He's going to go and watch the battle. He's like, I just want to see dragons.
He's going to watch the battle and just fucking jerk off the whole time.
So Rhaenyra, I think, realizes maybe that her going to King's Landing was a little foolish.
I think it's a couple things. So she realizes that it's war and I am mortal.
Well, because she says she also says, I realize now that either we fight for the crown or I die, which I think is why she starts thinking about her mortality, right?
Yeah. So I am mortal, and the prophecy of Aegon's dream cannot die with me.
Right.
So Jace, let me tell you about this thing called the Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah. And he's just like,
the what now?
Okay. Well, that's pretty dark.
That's a thing.
That's like my responsibility. And she's like, well, if I fucking die. And he's like, don't fucking die then, because that sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that. That's right after this. There are two parallel moments. We talked already about Rhaenys goes to see Maelys, and they prepare for battle. Aegon is just getting progressively more and more drunk. And somewhere along the way, something turns in his mind, and he's like, I'm going to go get on my dragon and attack something.
I'm going to do something.
So he goes down to the dragon pit in his fucking Aegon the Conqueror's armor, and his beautiful dragon Sunfire, like can tell that he's like not doing well, and like gives him a little bump and makes Aegon smile. And it's like the first time you see Aegon smile in like the whole fucking season. And it's another one of those heartbreaking things where it's like so the dragons are undoubtedly just flying nuclear weapons, right? But they're just animals. Yeah. And first of all, it's lucky for all the humans in this world that dragons evolved to have a relationship with humans and not just decided to burn everything and rule everything by themselves, you know?
Because they totally could.
Yeah. They are hyper intelligent, first of all, we know, but also like there isn't a power in that world that can compete with dragons, except for other dragons.
Well, the ice zombies.
Which are vulnerable to dragonfire. And they can't fly.
Yeah, but the dragons are also vulnerable to being turned into zombies.
Yeah, if you hit them with the ice spear. Yeah. And it turns out that the Night King is immune to dragon fire.
So some mutually assured destruction there.
Yeah. So he's gonna go drunk drive to fucking battle.
Don't drink and fly a dragon.
Yeah, because like he like takes off from the dragon pit and he's like oh god. And I also like how much of a doofus he looks. He's got his helmet, but like his little crown over it and everything. He's like, I'm a big boy. I can has war now. All right, so we have the Battle of Rook's Rest. Cole's troops attack the castle.
They don't do too well.
No, yeah, they're doing pretty poorly.
Like there's a whole bunch of archers over at the castle, and they're just shooting tons of arrows out
Their
there.
formations are tight. Yeah. They're like there's like the one line, and then they like step out of the way, and some guys like next fucking rank, and they're just like just lines of guys coming up through just shooting off arrows.
Very well drilled.
Yeah. Cole is looking from the tree line like, yes, this is going very well, and you're like, why do you think that? Because this very obviously is going poorly for you.
It does not seem like it's going very well.
So Turns out that they're just bait, right? And here comes fucking Rhaenys on melees, and she
comes down, fucking barbecues a few lines of dudes.
Okay. Every time a regular non-Targaryen person sees a dragon in this show, it cracks me the fuck up.
Because they shit their pants.
They all shit their pants and they like they're like, oh fuck, is that dragon?
They start running.
Yeah,
it's great.
She starts like carving through everything.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't think that Gawain was in on the bait thing.
No,
because he has the same reaction.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my god, that's a fucking dragon. So Cole orders signal arrows to be fired.
Send the signals.
And there's like a Rubes Goldberg, like the couple of arrows go up, a guy blows a horn, and then
somewhere in the woods,
like a couple miles off, I think,
an oddly shaped rock just starts moving a little bit.
Yeah. So it's Vhagar. Yeah. She really blends in to that like brush and shit. And
also she's enormous.
Yeah. Yes, and it's like it is the most obvious a little bit here in a couple seconds. But so they hear the horn blast. Fucking Aemon's like, all right, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
He looks up and he sees his idiot fucking brother like swerving, like swerving on the fucking road with Sunfire. And then he tells Vhagar, he's like, you know what, go back to your nap.
Let's give him a few minutes.
Vhagar does exactly what both of my dogs do when they decide to take a nap. They just plop down and they go, right? Is like it's. I even after this, after this episode, it's not Vhagar's fault.
Yeah.
Like none of this shit is the dragon's fault. I don't think. It's funny how humans just corrupt every fucking thing, and this is why we can't have anything nice. Yeah. So, Melee's Rhaenys sees the king, on his fucking dragon.
Like, well, shit, we can end the whole war right here.
Well, what do we have here? Melee's, let's go fuck this boy up. Yeah. And so, I don't know, if it's like the inexperience of Aegon as a dragon rider, but it's like Rhaenyra knew that he was going to do like the opening Charizard attack with the flames and shit. And she's like, oh, I've seen that shit before. Yeah. And she swerves at the right moment, is able to avoid the fucking fire. And then before Aegon can realize what's happening, he is in a death clutch.
Yeah.
And like Melee's is like digging this, like gouging flesh from his chest and shit. And it's really gruesome. And like, they have one bout.
Yeah.
And Sunfire's like, I'm out. Like that, holy shit, that dragon's so fucking
I've had
dead.
enough.
Yeah. And at first I thought that was like blood kind of spilling everywhere, but it's like definitely melting the people it's falling on.
Yeah.
I think this must be like some kind of like biological fuel or something for their fire or something. So like Aegon tries to dust himself off.
Yeah.
And Melee's grabs him again. And you switch to the people in the castle's POV, and you see this pair of wings over the tree line, and it's just like fucking. It's like the fin from Jaws, where and it is so big. Like when you see Melee's come in, she because Melee's is big, but she doesn't take up the entire field of view in the shot. Vhagar is like up in the air quite a while away, and she still takes the whole fucking field of view. That dragon is so insanely big. And you know what's crazy to me, and I hope someday to see it when they finally do one of the 20 fucking spinoffs. Hopefully they do Aegon's fucking conquest, because Balerion the Black Dread is noticeably bigger than Vhagar. Like that, he's just out of this world big, right? Rhaenyra or Rhaenys is like, oh look, it's Vhagar.
What? It's Vhagar.
Yeah. And so
he's like, okay, we had a good run. Yeah. I'm going home now.
Aemond realizes what's happening to his brother, which by the way, fucking Aegon's like, oh, thank God my fucking brother's here. And Aemond's like, don't thank me fucking yet, asshole.
First action is to make Vhagar breathe fire on both of them.
Yeah. Purposefully.
Yes.
So he's this is an assassination attempt, right?
He's making his play.
Yeah. And he, I think, probably mortally wounds Sunfire. And they just fucking crash and explode, right?
Yep.
And thus starts this heartbreaking thing. Like, it happens too fast for Melis to react. Once Vagar has you, it's done, right? Because she's so big, and like there's no way you can get out of it.
They have a couple passes, and for a moment you think Melis might be getting away.
Well, that's the thing. That's something I would like to point out, is that Melis is a little wounded by Sunfire, because like while she's distracted, he
scratches a little bit.
He like pulls a horn off or something. Yeah. He's like, I got a point. Melis is like, or you can tell Rhaenys is like, Dragonstone is not that far away, because Dragonstone's right across the fucking bay, right? And maybe, even though Melis is wounded, maybe she can get away. But Rhaenys is like, not fucking today. Like, I either kill Vagar and Aemond here, and the fucking king, by the way, or I die. And so she turns Melis around, I think probably knowing that it's like the odds are heavily stacked against her. And they have another bout. And I probably won't go into too much detail, because it really hurts me when like any of these fucking fake CGI dragons get hurt. But like Melis makes sure that she's looking at Rhaenys when she dies, and it just really rips your heart out. And Melis is killed and falls to the ground, and you can just see this like this realization with Rhaenys. It was like, I'm a fucking dragon rider. I die with my dragon. And just surrenders herself. And she doesn't really even seem that upset about it. I think probably Rhaenys' whole thing is like, I'm a Targaryen. This is what we do, right? And they both fucking die together. And they
crash into the wall of the castle conveniently.
You know that every Star Wars fan in the world watching this is like, we didn't see a body. She totally could have used the Force. She's dead. Yeah.
It hurts me. She is dead.
Rhaenys is the Mace Windu of House of the Dragon. So Cole, somewhere around in here, gets knocked the fuck out.
Yes.
So he wakes up, and it's like, have you ever seen Sausage Party?
Yes.
Do you remember that hilarious fucking sequence where like a cart spills over, and from like the hot dog's perspective, it's like the Saving Private Ryan, like horrific hellscape?
Yeah.
That's what Cole wakes up to.
Yes.
And he walks up to a guy standing there. He's like, the king went down. We gotta fucking save him. And he touches him, and the dude is just made of ash. He just
skeleton. Yeah.
He's like, well, fuck. Okay, well, you're not gonna help the king then.
I'm just gonna go walk into the woods myself then.
He drags his busted ass over there.
Behind him, like, you can hear people, they're assembling to like go rush into the castle.
Oh, without Melis, without Melis, and Rhaenys, the like Rook's Rest wasn't even really that big of a castle to begin with. Everyone was very confused as to why they were attacking that anyway.
Yeah.
So Cole finds Sunfire and Aegon. He also finds Aemond, who is standing there doing his General Hux thing from The Last Jedi, where he's got like his fucking weapon out. And then like he's like, wait.
Yeah. Let me just put this away.
He picks up the cat's paw dagger and is like, I think this will belong to me now. And Cole kind of looks over. Somehow Sunfire is still alive. And I think we're not meant to know if Aegon is, though I watched a preview for the next episode, and he at least survives the battle. And maybe Cole realizes that Aemond was purposefully late and something happened.
Maybe.
I don't know. So going forward, the Blacks just lost their biggest dragon. And Rhaenyra is not going to let this go unpunished. That there will be consequences for this, particularly now that she's dead. She's just resigned to war.
Yeah.
Something like
she was already on board. Like, it's fucking war. But like,
by the way, for what they did to Rhaenys, I hope they burn every fucking green in this show. Just fuck all of them. None of them deserve to be there. Especially when you watch the previews and they take Melis's head and parade her around King's Landing.
Oh, those motherfuckers.
Yeah. Just every fucking one of them. You know what? Even fucking Helena. I don't care. No, not Helena. No, put Helena on Dragonstone. I'm sure she'd actually have like kind of a good time there.
Yeah, she'd hang out with the spiders. Or
also, like, she and Jace got along.
Yeah.
At their dinner.
Yeah.
And everything. I bet they would be friends.
Yeah.
Corlys is gonna freak out.
Oh yeah.
And you're talking about a man who has the biggest navy in the fucking world. Would not surprise me to see Corlys just pull up to King's Landing through the Blackwater Rush and just like, we're bombarding everything, bitches. See you guys later.
And then Vhagar comes out and...
Yeah. I am interested to know if Aemond figures out the secret of this cat's paw dagger. Because remember, because he can read the High Valyrian, if he has the thought to put it in fire or something, he'll know what's on it. And it would be interesting to know. It'd be an interesting situation with both sides knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And having different interpretations and everything of it.